Hey guys, what's up? So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to find good property deals. Now, as I said in my previous video, I'm going to be doing a bit of a property sourcing sort of 101 over the next few videos. And so yeah, today we're going to be talking about specifically for property sources, like how to find good deals. So first of all, let's talk about what makes a property a good deal. Now, the first thing is that the property should be below market value. And so what does that mean? That just basically means that you can get the property for cheaper than, the market values. And so if properties like that go for, I don't know, £150,000, if you can get it for like 120k, 130k, that's below market value. To be honest, even if you get it for 10k below that 150k, it's still below market value, okay? That term is relative. Although a lot of investors will say aim for 25% below market value and figures like that. To be honest, I don't think that's always realistic. And so, yeah, just aim for below market value. Try not to pay the market price, especially when you're looking for deals for investors. By getting a below market value property, you're able to get equity in the property from day one. So that means if you bought a property for £130,000, but really the value is £150,000, that means from day one you have 20k equity in that property. You haven't even done anything to it. You haven't done any refurbs, you haven't waited a couple of years for capital appreciation. You've got that equity from day one, and that's a great place to be in, and investors will definitely want that. By getting a property below market value, it also gives you the space to be able to increase the value of the property to again increase the rental income that it can get. So let's say, for example, you've got a property that usually would get like £1,000 in rental income, and let's say there's actually potential to add an additional room to that property and also make it en suite. By doing that, your rental income can go from £1,000 for that property in a month to maybe like 1,500, 1,600, who knows? It depends how much each room would go for on a per room basis. And also generally when you add an ensuite to a property, you can tend to get like £50 to £100 on top per room. And so yeah, by getting a property below market value, it gives you the opportunity to be able to do these things. And again, if you're able to get a property below market value, it gives you the room, or the investor the room, to be able to add value to increase the equity in the property. So for example, if you bought a property for £100,000 and then you're actually able to add an additional room to it, then you could increase the value by maybe 10, 20k, like depending on the area that the property is in. The second thing that makes a good property deal is the ability to get a good rental yield. So usually I tend to aim for at least 5% rental yield when looking at properties. Obviously this will depend on the area that you're investing in, how much you can get, but it's definitely possible to get a lot higher if you invest in other parts of England. Another factor that makes a good property deal is basically a good rental area. So you want to buy on a property whereby rental demand is high. So it's not going to be a case whereby you buy a property there and then you're looking for tenants and then it's going on for months without finding anybody. Like, you don't want that kind of situation. So now that we've talked about what makes a good deal, let's talk about how to find them. Now, I feel like it comes down to three main things, and this is finding motivated sellers, finding distressed properties that need some work, and then just basically good negotiation skills. So being able to talk to sellers, like finding out what their pressure points are, finding out why they're trying to sell, and possibly seeing if you can help them. And so in doing that, basically you'll be able to get a good deal off the property. Okay, so first method for finding good property deals is direct to vendor or direct to seller. So basically you want to be approaching the person who's selling the property rather than having to go through like estate agents. At times you'll find that if not for an estate agent, like a lot of sellers will be quite happy to take a lower price for their property than what they go for in the end. And that's just because they don't have anybody like in their ears like trying to push them to go higher. Because obviously with estate agents, the higher they're able to sell property for, the more commission that they get. And so by going directly to the vendor or speaking directly to the seller, you'll be able to find out certain things that if you were dealing with an estate agent, maybe you wouldn't know. You can find out the reason why they're selling. You can find out if there's urgency. Let's say maybe they need an urgent sale, then more likely they're going to take like a lower price because they want to get the sale over and done with. You can find out the lowest price that they'll take for their property and still be happy. Like things like that you can do when you're able to speak directly to them, rather than if you go through an estate agent, they may be trying to bump up the price. And so in terms of direct to vendor routes, you've got Gumtree. So basically a lot of people will post their properties up for sale by themselves, so it'll be a private listing rather than one through an agent. In that way you can contact the seller directly. Their mobile number will probably be up there. You can call them, have conversations, see their motivations for selling, and see if there's potential for a deal there. Another method is sending like leaflets or letters to like an area or a cluster. I personally don't like do this method just because I feel like you could spend a lot of money on printing and also delivering letters or flyers, which one could most times end up thrown in the bin, because you know, really, what do you do when you receive leaflets? Like, you kind of throw them in the bin, don't you? And secondly, if it's not targeted and you don't know like there's specifically a seller somewhere, then you're kind of like just sending letters to like sort of nobody. So yeah, unless you've got like a good sort of lead and know that actually someone is selling a certain property, I probably wouldn't do this method. Although saying that, I do definitely think it'll be worthwhile if you know 100% that property is up for sale. So maybe there's a sign outside the property, or maybe you've seen it on Zoopla, Rightmove, and so you sent a letter to that address. Then it may be worth it, because at the end of the day, you sent a letter to the property that is for sale, and so the owner will see it. And if they're interested, they'll contact you. The third way that you can gain direct access to a vendor is actually through all these online property portals. So Zoopla, Rightmove, it begins there. So you find a property, even though it's listed by an agent, there's ways that you can make sure that you have, you know, contact with the seller. So by making sure that you go to do viewings at the time when the seller is going to be around. So now, considering the times that we're in and the fact that we're all locked down, you can most likely make a viewing for any time of day and the seller's going to be there. Well, that's of course unless the property is vacant for whatever reason, or maybe the seller is just a landlord and they don't live in the property. So this leads me nicely onto the second method for finding good property deals, which is these online portals, Zoopla, Rightmove, etc. Let's be honest, most properties are going to be advertised by estate agents. Like, it's just the easiest, quickest way that people know how to do it. And so you'll find these properties on Zoopla and Rightmove. However, when searching Zoopla and Rightmove, you just want to make sure that you've got the right filters in place and make sure that you are, you know, targeting the right types of properties. So first of all, you want to look for the properties that have been listed for the longest time. So can you see a property that's been on there for like 3 months, 6 months, a year plus even? Like, target those properties. The seller might well be motivated by now, or maybe in some instances the person is just fixed and like they want a certain price for their property. If that's the case, then yeah, they're definitely not going to be motivated. But at the end of the day, you'll never find out until you check. So yeah, always start with the properties that have been listed for the longest time first. Secondly, you want to filter accordingly to make sure that you don't see any like irrelevant properties. So you want to make sure that you filter out like retirement homes or shared ownership scheme homes or new build homes, and like, you know, just basically things that you know will not allow you to get a below market value property. Thirdly, you want to use the right keywords when you're searching on these portals. So you want to be using keywords like vacant or refurb or modernization. All those kind of keywords will throw up the kind of properties that need a lot of work and you coming in and adding value to them, or the investor coming in and adding value to them. Or in the sale of a vacant property, you'll more likely find like sellers who are looking for a quick buy or quick purchase. And so if you've got cash buyers on your list, then those are great people to like sell those deals onto, really, because you'll get a really good deal on them. Another keyword actually to target is no chain. And so if a property has no chain, then likely the person selling would like a quick sale, because really there's nothing holding them back from like selling the property. It's not a case whereby they need to find a home first before they can sell that property. So yeah, if you see no chain or you search for no chain, those will be good potentials also to get discounted properties. Method number 3 for finding good property deals is auctions. Now, to be honest, this isn't aimed at property sources or property sourcing business. This is just generally how you can get a good, you know, cheap below market value property. The only thing to take into consideration with auctions, of course, is the fact that, you know, they're cash purchases. And so if you're trying to use a mortgage to get a property, this is likely not going to work out for you. Now, the next method for finding good property deals is to use your online presence. And so basically, this is the idea that generally, if people know you for something, they will approach you with that thing. And so I'll use myself as an example. Just last week, somebody contacted me, or they sent me an email saying that basically they had a BMV deal, and it's basically because he was trying to sell his own property quite urgently. And so because he'd come across my content, you know, come across my page, he sent me an email because he knows that that's what I deal with. And so in that sort of scenario, like, I was very happy, because at the end of the day, I haven't had to put in any additional work to source this deal, but it was very much below market value. As well, sellers contacting you, like, you may have property sources contact you as well. And so let's say like they've got deals that they don't have any investors for, they may approach you and say, actually, I've got this deal, do you have an investor that might be interested? And by doing that, you guys can split the sourcing fee somehow. And finally, in terms of using your online presence to get good property deals, you basically just want to let people know that they can get in touch with you if they're looking to sell their home or a property that they own. This is something that I've started doing recently because it just makes sense, doesn't it? Your job is basically to match sellers with buyers. And so if you have people coming to you and saying, oh, I need to sell my property as soon as possible, or I'm willing to sell my property for a discounted price, then it just really works hand in hand. And so yeah, definitely telling people that actually I'm able to help you with selling your property is another good way to get deals. But of course, you can only do this and have people take you seriously if you are creating like content that revolves around that area or around that thing. And so if you have a social media presence but actually it's not really like tailored to a sourcing service that you offer, then maybe you might want to adjust that and make certain changes to make sure that when people come across like your profile, your page, they see you as a serious like property person, property sourcer, like whatever it is. And so last but not least, the final method to use in finding good property deals is basically like to co-source or partner up with somebody. So if you have a good client list, you've got loads of investors ready to buy, or even a few investors that ready to buy, but you have no deals, then you want to find a co-sourcer or partner who has like lots of deals available, but no investors or barely any investors to sell those to. So by you two working together, you can come to an agreement and basically both get a cut of the sourcing fee. So guys, that brings me to the end of this video. Those are my top ways for finding good property deals right now. If you found this video useful, please do give it a thumbs up. Please do also let me know in the comments which of the methods you'll be trying if you haven't tried them out already. And please do also let me know in the comments if there are any other videos or topics you'd like me to cover on my channel, and I'll make sure that I do so. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.